For years, my friends, I've been testing out hybrid systems that convert from a poncho to a blanket to a sleeping bag and so on. To this day, my favorite is the Swagman roll from Helikon-Tex. And that's because it allows you to zip it up like a sleeping bag and then crawl inside of it. It's an awesome product. It's an awesome product with the best design that I've seen so far. These hybrid systems that I'm talking about are highly versatile products, and that's why I like them so much. You can use them as a sleeping bag. You can use it as a quilt, as a blanket. Pull it over your head and wear it like a poncho. You have a lot of versatility. Anyways, my friends, the other day I was on Amazon looking for new products to review. I came across this. This is from OneTigris, and this is what they call their warm poncho. This is a poncho, a blanket, a sleeping bag, an overquilt, an underquilt. You can use this in countless ways. And that's what this episode is all about. Thank you all very much for tuning in to this episode of the OutdoorGear Review. My name is Luke. Let's go ahead and get started with the warm poncho from OneTigris. To start off here, we have the storage bag, which is included with this. This is very much a traditional sleeping bag storage bag. You have straps all the way around this so that you can compress it. You also have a buckle here. Up at the top, we have a draw pull. Down at the bottom, we have a grab hold so that you can pull the poncho out. To go over the features of this system here, let's start up here at the head. We have a hood with draw pulls on both sides so that you can cinch it down. We do have a protective flap over the top, which is going to help with wind. Down here, we have a zipper with a zipper pull that makes putting on this poncho and taking it off really, really easy, because it makes the head hole so big. Going down, we have a hand warmer pocket that is connected so that you can basically slide your hand all the way through to the other side. On the sides of the poncho, we have snaps, and basically that holds this poncho together. Down at the bottom, we have two draw pulls so that you can pull tight the hem. Before I show you what else this can do, I will put it on as a poncho. And just like that, you're wearing a poncho, you're blocking the breeze, you're holding in some heat. You can use the hand warmer if you want to. As I mentioned, that's a pass-through pocket. I mentioned that you can cinch up the hem down at the bottom. There is no crossbody compression here, so this is basically as tight as it's going to fit. We can put the hood on, zip it up, and of course, cinch it if you need to. As you saw when I put this on, it is nice and easy. And again, that's because the head hole here is huge. When it comes to using this as a blanket, we have to undo the snaps. I recommend that you be very careful with these. Snaps on products like this are notorious for tearing up. So go slow, be gentle. Otherwise, you can tear them out. These are plastic snaps, so you don't have to worry about bending them, but you definitely need to be careful. We now have the warm poncho laid out as a blanket. Let's go ahead and measure this real quick. We're looking at 85 inches, which is 7 feet 1 inches. That's the length. The maximum width here is right at 60 inches, which is 5 feet, but that's only in the middle. As you can see, it tapers up at the head and the foot, and it tapers down to roughly 46 inches. This does feature an interesting cut here, which makes it a little bit easier to wear, but if you're going to use this as a blanket or a top quilt, you don't have as much protection. So, with that being said, this is obviously not a blanket that you can completely wrap up in. Let's say that you're laying down, you cover your body but you don't wrap up in it. With this poncho here, this is available in 2 colors, green and black, and it features a 3M Thinsulate insulation. The fabric is a 20 denier nylon shell, and this also has a 300T polyester spring fabric lining on the inside. When it's stored, it measures 15 inches by 7 inches, but I will tell you all this, with enough force, you can make it even smaller. And that's because of the 3M Thinsulate insulation. It is super compressible. Speaking of which, when it comes to these poncho hybrids, this is the most compact one that I've personally seen. The weight of this is 1.5 pounds, and the cost is $60 for the black version, $58 for the green at the time of filming on Amazon. Speaking of Amazon, when I purchased this, there was a $5 off coupon, which I used. It may or may not be present if you decide to purchase this too. With this poncho, folks, I have to say, the quality is very impressive. Not a single stitch is messed up. There's no loose threads or anything like that. From a quality perspective, it looks excellent. Concerning the price of this, it is in line with comparable products. In other words, it's very much fair. I've spoken about how compressible this insulation is. It's actually very impressive. When you compare this to many products that are similar that are out on the market today, even the Swagman roll, this compresses far more so than those do. Some poncho hybrids can be quite bulky, but that's certainly not the case here. And I think that's the selling point for this one. It is so compressible, so lightweight. It allows you to do certain adventures that the other products do not allow you to do. Some comparable products are so bulky, it's like carrying a fall season sleeping bag with you. They compress and they're still that large. Without a doubt, this is very lightweight, as I mentioned. It's so lightweight, in fact, when you go hands-on with this, you may believe that it has down on the inside instead of a synthetic insulation, but that's not the case. This features a synthetic insulation, but yet it feels like down. It compresses like down, but luckily it doesn't have a cost like down does. The storage bag is large enough to easily get that to fit, and it's of a good quality. At the same time, it's very lightweight. And I do like the fact that you have compression straps all over so that you really can cinch this down and make it small. With enough work, you can cinch this down and compress it to about the size of a 1 liter Nalgene bottle. I have seen no mention from OneTigris what the lowest temp rating for this is. I have actually taken this out for one trip. It was the other night, and it was rather cool but not cold. The temps were down to roughly 50 degrees, and it was super, super wet. Non-stop rain, non-stop thunderstorms, tons of fog, lots of moisture in the air. As the evening came on, I was getting a little bit cold. I put this on, and I stayed nice and warm for hours. I took it off, went to bed. All in all, at 50 degrees, it worked great. Unfortunately, the odds of testing this at lower temperatures is unlikely because we're going into the summertime. I do wish that there was a way to cinch this up a little bit, either in the front or the back. That way you can move around camp, you can do what you need to do, because as is, the width of this is pretty wide in the middle, narrow at the bottom. If you're going to be moving around camp, right? Let's say that you use this as a sleeping bag or a blanket throughout the night, right? You wake up, you put it on as a poncho, you go to your camp, you're making coffee, you will have to be very careful. You can easily knock everything over off of your table. Trust me, folks, if you're going to wear one of these in camp, you have to be careful. Nothing sucks more than making a pot of coffee just to move around, the wind catches it, and it knocks everything over. That is a real possibility with something like this. When it comes to other designs, typically they cinch up in the front or in the back, and that allows you to control the materials somewhat. With this system here, you can't do that. It's just something that you need to keep in mind. One complaint that I have for, not really this product, it's more with OneTigris. They speak about this product being waterproof. Just because a product is treated with a water repellency does not make it waterproof. For a short period of time, the water will bead up and fall off the fabric, but that doesn't mean that water will not soak into this. And that is something that you do not want to happen. While the insulation inside of this poncho will retain some heat even when it's wet, that doesn't mean that you're going to be comfortable, right? The simple truth is you do not want to get this wet. It's very much like wool, for an example. Wool clothing, wool blankets, and so on. Just because they can retain some heat doesn't mean that you want to get those materials wet. In cold conditions, getting wet can be dangerous, so don't do it. In my opinion, OneTigris should not talk about using this out in the rain, even though they do. This is not a waterproof poncho by any means, folks. So don't get it wet, don't use it in the rain. The last thing that we should do is try this out as a sleeping bag. Let's see what that's like. Now that I've started snapping this together, I could see here that this really doesn't form a sleeping bag at all. You have a handful of snaps down at the bottom, a handful of snaps up here at the top, with no snaps in the middle. So you really can't seal this up. And because of this, in my opinion, this makes more sense as a quilt instead of a sleeping bag. Crawling in, putting your feet into the snapped up hole, just like this, and then using this as a quilt or a blanket, that makes sense. Using this as a sleeping bag, it does not. If you are going to use this as a quilt, make sure to cinch up the end that your feet is going to be in, and then you can cover up. You just can't cover yourself like underneath yourself. Basically, you're covering the top and that's it. You certainly can roll around, and there is enough material to cover your front and your back, but not underneath you. Very interesting, OneTigris. Very interesting. Without a doubt, everyone, this is a very interesting product. It's an interesting version of the Swagman roll. There are things that I like about this, more so than the Swagman roll. For an example, it's lighter weight, more compressible. I can get my big head through this hole here a whole lot easier, 10 times easier. But you can't compress it around the waist. You can't zip it up and seal yourself up in it. But this does make for a better quilt for warm weather camping than the Swagman roll does. Pros and cons, baby. Pros and cons. It's an interesting take on the poncho liner hybrid, right? You can use this as a poncho liner with your poncho, your rain poncho. You cannot use this as a sleeping bag. That does not make sense. You can use it as a blanket, as a quilt, underquilt, top quilt. This is a preview, and I'm also sharing with you all my experiences with this so far. My plan is to continue testing this out, and I will be back eventually with my review. For now, I am done. Make sure to sound off in the comment section down below. What do you all think about this? Is it worth 60 bucks? Based upon my experiences so far, I say yes. For warm weather camping in the summertime, this is an interesting option. Very interesting. Folks, I'm done. If you enjoyed this episode, if you found it helpful, hit the thumbs up. I do appreciate it. Everybody, take care, be well, strength and honor. Bye for now.